If you look carefully at the moon, you can probably see a man on the moon. Some of you may see a rabbit or even an old woman on the moon. Is there really a man on the moon, or are these just interesting shapes on the moon's surface? What are these dark and light areas on the moon? When you look at the moon at night, do you notice that its shape keeps changing? How does the moon change its shape? For many centuries, moon was a mysterious object in the sky. Avid curiosity about it led to many expeditions to the moon. But so far, only 12 men have stepped on the lunar surface. Do you know who the first human to walk on the moon was? Let's try and answer all these interesting questions. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! The mission landing on the moon has begun. Apollo 11's journey to the moon took 3.5 days. On 21st July 1969, the spacecraft Apollo 11 landed on the moon. Astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon. When Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon, he said, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." What did he mean by this statement? The moon is a solid, rocky body. Its surface is covered by a 2-inch thick layer of soft dust. It has huge mountains, plains, and deep pits called craters. From the Earth, these deep craters and huge mountains appear as dark and light areas. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin explored the moon's surface and collected many samples. The moon is a natural satellite of Earth. Unlike the Earth, the moon has no atmosphere or water. Therefore, there is no wind, no clouds, and no rain. During the day, the moon becomes boiling hot. In the night, it becomes freezing cold. Can you explain why? The moon lacks atmosphere. This blanket of air plays an important role in regulating the temperature of a celestial body. Without an atmosphere, the moon is not protected from the intense heat of the sun during the day, and its temperature soars. At night, all the heat escapes into space, and the moon becomes freezing cold. Do you think there is life on the moon? Both the moon and Earth are 4.5 billion years old. The moon is 1/4 the size of the Earth. Have you ever wondered why things fall down and not up? The Earth has a strong force of attraction. It pulls everything towards it. This force is called gravity. The moon's force of gravity is 1/6 that of the Earth. because it is smaller than the earth. If a frog can jump 1 meter high on the earth, how high will it be able to jump on the moon? On the moon, a frog will be able to jump 6 times the distance it can on earth. Now, let's discuss why the moon appears to change its shape every day. We know that the earth revolves around the sun and the moon orbits around the earth. It is due to the revolution of the moon around the earth that the moon appears to change its shape every day. These different shapes of the moon as seen from the earth are called phases of the moon. The moon has no light of its own, so how can we see it? You know that road studs are used to guide drivers at night. These road studs emit no light of their own, yet we can see them at night, because they reflect the light that falls on them. In a similar way, we can see the moon from Earth because the moon reflects the sunlight that falls on it. It acts like a big, round mirror. Let's use an activity to help us understand the phases of the moon. Here, the projector represents the sun, and the ball represents the moon. Let's represent the Earth and stand behind the ball. In this position, the side of the moon facing us gets no light at all. We cannot see the moon. This is called new moon. As the moon moves along its orbit around the earth, a small portion of the side facing us gets lit up by sunlight, and we can see the phase called the crescent moon. With the change in the position of the moon in relation to the earth and the sun, we start to see an increasingly greater part of the moon. After about 7 days, we can see half of the illuminated part of the moon. After about 3 more days, even more of the moon is lit up, and we see 3/4 of the moon. This is the Gibbous Moon. In 2 weeks, the entire side facing us is lit up by sunlight. We can then see the full moon. This is the brightest phase of the moon. After this phase, the lit part of the moon facing us gets smaller and smaller, and the dark, unlit part of the moon keeps increasing. We now see all the phases appear in reverse formation. At the end of the month, we see the new moon phase again. Remember that no matter what phase the moon is in, 1/2 of the moon is always lit up by the sun. The different shapes of the moon that we see from Earth are only due to the different positions that the moon takes up as it orbits around the Earth relative to the sun. Did you know that from the Earth only one side of the moon is visible? The same side of the moon is always facing towards the Earth. The moon revolves around the Earth in about 28 days, and this is the time it takes to rotate once about its own axis.